This is the Slots and Sockets podcast, episode number 69. Nice. I am one of your hosts, IRD Moose, and my partner in crime,
Bo Penguin.
Hey Turbo, happy Wednesday to you. I lost track. Yeah, it is Wednesday, is it not? So
Tisby Wednesday.
It has been an interesting couple weeks with our unexpected and unplanned hiatuses just because of life, the universe, and everything. And
it's the summertime. This is what happens. People go out and do things, and there's like next week is going to be a little crazy. The next 2 weeks will be crazy for us. Yeah. So, anyways,
it's going to be fun.
Let's talk about. Real quick.
Yeah.
This is a little off script, but make sure you have updated graphics drivers.
Mm-hmm.
June 30th, AMD released the 25.6.3 driver set. And from what I understand, for 9000 series users, you're seeing a pretty hefty bump. I don't know if it's tied exactly to that driver set, but we are seeing from a lot of reviewers who are maybe going back and looking at, and they are seeing that 9000 series from Radeon, the 9070, I would assume 60 and 50, all kind of seeing some pretty good gains to the point where a 9070 is consistently faster than a 5070 Ti. And in some respects, really pushing towards a 5080, and that's not overclocked. And then July 1st, the GeForce 576.88. And for all 7 of you users that are Intel, I'll just say that there's an update driver and you should look at it.
And okay. for those of us on AMD, I just want to make a note that my automatic updater did not tell me there was a driver update when 2563 released. I had to manually download it.
Because it's an optional update.
Right.
That is an optional update. So you do have to actually go there and actually click on the optional update to download it. I do not think the updater will actually push that out to you.
I don't think it does. So yeah, heads up.
Get that. It's super helpful. So there's a bunch of stuff that have kind of come out the last couple of weeks. And, there's really only one topic I think we're going to spend some time on today. And that is the absolute destruction and implosion of Xbox.
Yeah.
Xbox is dead. They came out and said, basically, there's some marketing pieces on this, that Xbox is going to be Xbox everywhere. It's going to be on your phone. It's going to be in your ROG Ally. It's going to be everywhere. But the one thing they didn't say is on your console.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when they were pushed about it, they basically confirmed that they weren't making any more they weren't going to make hardware. Now, it's my understanding that they'll make some pieces of hardware. I think they're going to continue to make controllers. I think that's smart for them. I think the controllers are the only thing they're going to continue to make. I don't think they're going to make, they'll still make mice and keyboards because, the peons like them.
Hey, look, don't hate on the IntelliMouse Explorer, man. That was a beast of a mouse.
Sure. Back in 1993. Way to go, Moose.
Don't judge me.
Yep, judged. And it's really interesting. You start looking around and start, looking, and if you look to go buy an Xbox Series X, it's now more expensive than a PS5 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And so you sit there and say, oh, okay, so not only am I buying an older piece, but it's already outdated. It's slower than an Xbox or the PS5 Pro. And now it's because I think the only reason it's more expensive is because they don't make them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the push through is that we've seen, there's been a ton of push through here on the Xbox insiders. The Xbox insiders, for those who are running that, they now officially added Steam integration into the Xbox app.
Welcome,
So
Xbox people. You get Steam sales.
you get Steam sales. Um, so which is so the question is if I can go on the Xbox and buy through Steam, why would I buy through Xbox? Because if I bought it through Steam, I could play it both on Xbox and PC. But if
And
I bought it
potentially
on
Linux. Yeah.
Xbox, I can't play it anywhere else. Now, it will be interesting to see what happens because there is obviously some changes that we're still kind of figuring out. But the other half of all of this is that Microsoft, you know, over the last 10 years has been out buying and buying and
Hmm.
buying all of these game developers and having them make games. And now they're in the process within the last 6 months of firing everybody and
Wasn't
basically taking their purchases and burning them to the freaking ground.
wasn't their total spend on all the studios they bought over the last few years something like
Oh,
$500 billion or
it's
something
stupid.
ridiculous?
It's dumb. Well, and it's funny is that if you look at it, like some of these purchases were horrific buys.
Hmm.
Like the
Activision Blizzard for 40
Activision
billion.
thing, the Activision purchase, like they were saying that if you took Activision's income and you tried, and if you sit there and said, I can continue to make this much money, okay, uh, moving forward, it would take like 35 years to break even on that
Yeah.
purchase. And it's like,
Yeah.
holy crap. Like some of these weren't out as outlandish as others, but I mean, there are plenty of developers and games, and you can find a whole list online, but there are lots and lots of developers that are just like, no more because Xbox bought them, and now they're like, yeah, you're all fired and games are canceled, IP is canceled. Um, there's a big push for in the Europe to have game developers actually tell you what their end of life plan is for
Yep.
games.
Stop
And I
killing
think
games.
stop killing games. And I think that's a huge thing, especially now when you look at what Microsoft is doing. I mean, they're straight up killing games and there is no access for some of these games. I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest. I mean, Forza Horizon, I don't think you can play any of the old Forza Horizon games anymore, can
No,
you? It's
I
a
don't think so.
online only game, I thought.
The
Um,
disc-based ones maybe, but that's only if you can get a physical copy, and good luck playing it on a modern Xbox.
I mean, so, you know, they've killed off all of their IP. They've kept some of it, but a lot of it has just been discontinued. A lot of people are sacked. Um, you've got hardware, and AMD has basically said that they're moving forward with, and they're not planning for an Xbox next gen console.
Yep.
Now, the loaded question I have is that okay, what does that mean for Sony? Because if Sony sits there and says, okay, maybe we don't need a console, or maybe they continue to do it because I mean, if you look at Google Stadia and a
Mhm.
lot of those cloud gaming services, I mean, they all failed.
Yep.
And Google had a use for using it when gamers weren't using it. Like you could use it in the actual horsepower from those GPUs to do computational things like that
Mhm.
Google would have for search engines and AI stuff. So like if it wasn't being used, that they could repurpose those pieces for other uses. Um, Microsoft probably could have done the same thing, but Sony doesn't have an AI or an operating system or any of that stuff. Like they have no need for that.
No.
We know that Sony has been working on at least some sort of store for their retro PS1, PS2, and PS3 games because those were the hard games really to bring porting over.
Mhm.
And even then, because I think with PS3 Plus, or maybe it was PS4 Plus, you could actually go back and play where Sony would host those games and actually stream it to you, much like
Mhm.
Stadia. It's limited. But Sony has made it very, very clear that that's a really expensive thing that they're trying to get rid of because it's
Yeah.
so expensive to run on their end. I don't think the cloud piece is going to be where it goes. Um, but obviously something and the gaming side is going to change. The question is where, if I lose Xbox as hardware, um, you still have Sony, you still have Nintendo,
Mhm.
and you've got all of at least Windows and Valve in separate pieces because you have all the PC gamers on Windows. Nobody plays games on Macs because Macs suck. Um, and you've got Valve, and there's could be some very interesting things of how some of this works out. Um, if Sony comes back and says, "Hey, we're pushing this and we're done making hardware," the question is where does that go? I could see Sony doing some sort of certificate. I could see Microsoft doing some sort of certificate
Mhm.
for Windows, Xbox certified type thing,
Yeah.
where you have some certifications, and that would make sense from theirs, especially if they just want to still a sticker. Um, that would make actually a lot of sense if
Like
they're going to
designed for
still,
Windows 11 or designed for
yeah, and
Xbox
just have
OS or
it,
something. Yeah.
yeah. And you could possibly see that. I don't think Sony really has the ability to do that.
No.
Their hardware and software are so locked down. I mean, I wouldn't say no, but Sony's going to have a much harder time of doing that than Microsoft will. Microsoft has so much behind the scenes with Windows that they could just take Xbox OS
Mhm.
and they could start selling it to companies like HP and Asus
Yeah.
and MSI and saying, you guys make whatever the heck you want. You can
Which
use your sticker and
yeah,
it's going to cost you $37 a license
right.
to use. And then you don't have to worry about software. You guys have to support the hardware though.
Which they're already doing with the Xbox edition of the Raj Ali X or whatever the heck it's called.
So,
That's Xbox branded and supposedly going to run Xbox games on it, but also Steam games. Because the beauty of Xbox OS, and I think one of the things that's been the impetus for this transition is since the move to the Xbox One, Xbox's OS has been effectively the current consumer version of Windows running in a Windows Server based hypervisor. That's how you do all the crazy switching, how you can pause a game and shut the system down and resume back from where it was because it's all in VMs. And it's what Microsoft had been promising with Longhorn even where applications at the OS level would be fully containerized and allow you to do those sorts of things on desktop, but it never materialized because they canned that. But the Xbox One and eventually the Xbox Series was the perfect test bed to prove that concept and make it work. Um, and I think what we're going to start seeing going forward is a move more toward the handheld form factors for the console people. So, because I mean, look at how popular the Nintendo Switch is. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere. Like
it's
if you don't have a Xbox or PlayStation, you more than likely have a Switch if you play any kind of games.
it's interesting. I'm just looking up like the Microsoft game IPs
Mhm.
that they now have direct control over. And this goes back to, throughout the years of things that I have purchased. So you have all of Activision and Blizzard.
Mhm.
So That's, you know,
Warcraft,
StarCraft, that's
StarCraft.
Overwatch, that's Call
Yep.
of Duty, that's Diablo,
Yep.
Empire Earth, you know, interestingly,
Bugfesta.
Bethesda, and that's another whole group of games.
Yep. With a
Um,
very rabid fan base for
with a
good reason.
a very good fan base.
Yep.
Empire Earth,
Hmm.
Minecraft, Overwatch, all the flight simulator stuff,
Yep.
Halo franchise, um, Forza, and that's both Motorsport and Horizon.
Hmm.
Um, you look at they own Warcraft. Um, they have Halo, they have Fallout, the Fallout series, they
Hmm.
have Gears of War. I'm looking at this list and it is absolutely insane how much IP they own. Quake and Doom
Yep.
individually.
Yep.
Um, and these are all IPs that they themselves straight up just own. And they could, and this is where I believe, some of this piece of like keeping your games alive
Hmm.
is super important because Microsoft at anyone game can any one time can be like, yeah, we're done with Call of Duty.
Yep.
We're done with Quake. It will never see the light of day. And there are plenty of IPs out there that absolutely will never see the light of day because a large corporation has bought them and has no desire to do anything other than just sit on it and wait until someone with a lot of money says, I want that.
Yep.
Like, for instance, the one thing I've always wanted to get back and do actually, I'd love to own landparty.com.
Hmm.
You know how many times that has changed ownership? Because I think at one point it was owned by, I think GameSpot owned it,
Hmm. Interesting.
but it doesn't even go anywhere. It's dead, but you can't. Oh God, sorry. It goes to IGN.
Oh
Sorry.
God. Ugh.
Land Party
I
is
game
owned
not.
by IGN. So it's not so, and like IGN's gonna do anything with landparty.com.
Well, they don't even
No.
game, so what do you expect?
But see, that's the type of stuff, and that's the thing. So, like, for instance, if you're an avid, Elder Scrolls gamer, you're
Hmm.
hoping that Microsoft sees money signs in it and decides to do this.
Yeah. Well, I
They
think I think
own
the
Mech Commander, Mech Warrior, and Mech Assault.
yep.
I didn't realize they owned
They've
Mech Warrior.
they've owned Mech Warrior for a long time. They produced Mech Warrior 4 and Mercenaries.
Well, I mean, it's our hero.
Yeah.
Anyways, the one thing I'll just say is because I don't know if going on this takes a ton of time or is really worth a lot. But the one thing that I think is either, we will look back at this and either look back and say Microsoft was really, really smart at
Hmm.
getting out of this whole hardware thing. And Sony is going to screw up majorly by continuing to do this.
Yeah. I
Two, they
yeah.
realize that Microsoft looks at this and says, I'll have somebody else do all the risk and actually buying, making, supporting it, and doing it. And I'm just going to go and just give you a sticker and put my little Xbox brand on it
Yep.
and never have to actually do anything other than collect my licensing fee.
Well, all they would do then
Um,
is support the software. That's it.
even then,
But
it's
that's a
just
light lived.
even
Because
then it goes back to like the people who make the hardware from
hmm
AMD and Nvidia and Intel, whoever makes the actual hardware to support it, because all at
right.
that point they're saying, sure, it can do that. Where's the
Yep.
drivers? Sure, you guys figure it out.
Yep.
Like they don't have to do anything. Or they're going to give all of this mind share over to Sony, and Sony is going to continue to make consoles and is absolutely going to kill this. Somebody is going to come into this space and be really, really successful and make a
Hmm.
lot of money.
Yeah.
We talked about this before the show. Obviously, Sony is on that short list of somebody who knows how to do a console.
Mhm.
Um, we know Sony has been working on a portable. So there's no question that a portable is on the list of things they will eventually do. I don't know how soon, that will be, but it
Yeah,
will
I mean,
come.
they already have their tethered handheld.
Yeah. So, but Valve absolutely could come into this. We know they've got Steam Deck. We
Mhm.
know that there's probably some internal stuff. The problem with Valve is that you don't really see a lot unless they want people to know what they're doing.
Right.
So behind the scenes, they really could be doing a lot of weird stuff. It's kind of like Deadpool. Not Deadpool. What's that? What was that new game that they just came out with? The class-based one.
Oh, wow, I'm
Anyways,
drawing a blank. Yeah.
that was under development and is very, very hush hush until like, okay, yeah, you guys can start leaking this and we don't really care because it's going to come out.
Mhm.
Like they made a point to be like, yeah, this is actually a thing. So Valve is very, very good at keeping things very tight. We don't see a lot of information from Valve that they don't want you to know.
Mhm.
And even if people are finding it, it's because I firmly believe that some of these leaks are from Valve saying, yeah, we want these actually to leak without us actually saying it. We want to kind of get some feedback. We want to test the market.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that Valve could absolutely be into this piece. We obviously have Sony. Nintendo, I mean, I don't know. I doubt Sony, I mean, that Nintendo would, but all I can tell you is that Nintendo is in a weird spot.
Mhm.
They've kind of done their own thing for a really, really, really long time. It would have them to really change the direction of what Nintendo has done in the past.
Yeah.
It would be such a dramatic change that I don't see Nintendo jumping into that.
I don't
Um,
either.
and then the third one I think is PC manufacturers with the support of Xbox branded OS.
Mhm.
I think that could be a really smart move from Microsoft. They already have these partners that they deal with on PCs and laptops and other Windows-based devices. There really isn't any difference hardware-wise between an Xbox and a PC, other than the vast support network of different hardware you can put on a PC rather than
Mhm.
an but Xbox of all of them is probably the one that they could lean into the knowledge of Windows and really just do really well. You then would have things like Alienware X1 with Xbox gaming,
Mhm.
and or Omen or whoever it is. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's talk about the Asus ROG Ally. So we know that there's already some conversations because the ROG Ally is already getting the Xbox OS, and that'll
Mhm.
be the first version of that. And that makes sense because it's really just a ROG Ally with an Xbox different install.
With a different
Um,
version of Windows. Yeah.
Different version of Windows. I mean, you go
Yep.
from a Windows 11 to Windows Xbox version.
Yeah.
That's
Which is
it.
still the Windows 11 kernel. It's just
And it's the same
Xbox labeled.
hardware.
Yeah.
It's the same hardware. So it's
Yeah.
not even that all like legitimately they take the Windows 11 sticker off the back of it and they replace it with an Xbox sticker.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
even know if there's even an Xbox sticker,
And
but
well, we know there's Xbox stickers because they do have them
so
for
do
some of
we
their
think
hardware.
that when you
But
turn it on, it has like the Xbox animation?
I mean, it might. It very likely might. But here there is one possibility that I'm considering here with the handheld market starting to explode because I've been on a couple trips lately and being in several different places around the continent, I've seen a lot more handhelds in people's hands. Not, like everybody's got one, but when I go someplace, there's usually somebody with a handheld chilling out on a bench or, playing a game, doing something. Like on the plane 2 weeks ago, uh, like several people had different types of handhelds. One was there was at least two Switches, and then the rest were like Steam Steam Deck clones. And so I think I think Microsoft's Play is going to be getting out of the console market and into the software provider side of the handheld market. And I have a feeling that with the hardware that Sony has in the PlayStation 5, what's potentially coming into the PlayStation 6, using parts that are already set up for a mobile form factor, they are in a good position to do something like the Switch with PlayStation 5, PlayStation 6 level hardware that can do those sorts of games, but also be mobile, where you have your dock where you just drop the console into it like you do with a Switch, and it just hooks up to the TV and you go with your normal PlayStation
I
controller,
mean,
or you just take it and go with you and it runs at a lower spec.
the other half is you gotta keep in mind Sony and Microsoft have this piece of notion that they support a specific set of hardware requirements from start to finish,
Yep.
and that those different tiers overlap, so that any one given time they've got a PlayStation. Because as my understanding, there is still support for PlayStation 4
Mm-hmm.
and PlayStation 5 right now. Obviously, 5 is the current. So they're constantly having to go backwards, and PlayStation has really struggled with this because some of their earlier PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 really had some unique hardware pieces that made them very unique. Um, PlayStation 4 and 5 have kind of come more in line with PCs than in prior generations. They're not
Right.
a one-to-one, but they're a lot closer than they have been in the years past. So, uh, there is something to be said that at that point you sit there and say, you know, if all we're doing is, and the other half is like, what does Sony make game wise now? They don't
I
have
mean,
games.
they've got Helldivers 2, they've got,
Nope, they don't have Helldivers. That's somebody else.
well, it's they're the
But
publisher
you
on
can
it.
play that on Xbox.
You can now. Yeah, it took about a year for it to come out on Xbox, but yeah,
All I'm
there's
getting at is that developers in the past were fixated in saying we're getting money from Sony to make a Sony exclusive.
yeah,
That
God of War.
Sony exclusive is a thing of the past.
Mhm.
We really don't. I don't expect to see that anymore, because I don't. I look at Sony and saying, why would I pay you to make a game that you're going to make?
Mhm.
Why don't you just make the game and you can plan on this
Yeah.
on PlayStation? Because now that Xbox is officially pretty much dead from a hardware perspective, who are they competing? Who is Sony competing with?
Really Nintendo
PC,
at that point and PC.
PC, Nintendo, and some other small stuff. But Nintendo is really probably their biggest quote unquote competitor. And I did make the argument that Nintendo and Sony never competed. They competed back in the 90s and the early 2000s
Mhm.
when those games were, but Nintendo is kind of stuck in this low level graphics, old IP type of games.
Yeah.
That's not bad. It's just that that's what they've always done. But they haven't moved into like supporting games like Call of Duty or Doom or any of these other, like even Fortnite. I don't think you can play
You can.
Fortnite on it. You
Yeah.
can't. So
The Switch
tells you how much
is
I know.
kind of terrible with Fortnite, but the Switch 2 is on par with the PS5 and Xbox in terms of quality on Fortnite, at
I
least from what
just
I've
think
seen.
I just think that when it's all said and done, I think there's going to be some push to go away from making
Mhm.
dedicated hardware that can only play games
From one
and
specific
let
vendor, yeah.
let hardware vendors just make new stuff and say, sure, if the game supports a faster CPU, more power to you. Go buy
Right,
another one. We don't really
right.
care. I mean, and Microsoft would be smart to do that, is to be like, sure. And every time you sell one of our, Xbox branded, boxes, we'll give you the OS and all of that, and we'll take care of the software piece of it.
Mhm.
We'll let the hardware vendors do all the driver based side of it.
Yep.
We don't really have to do anything, but thank you very much for selling a new piece, because every time you sell a new piece, we're going to make 17 to 22 bucks a head.
Well, and the
Just
other thing,
whack it off and be like, thank you very much. Use our
yeah.
stuff, go away. We don't have to support anything. We don't have to design anything. All we got to do is take your money.
Well, yeah, and I think what they might be trying to do here too with kind of treating Windows 11 as a service and just kind of piling crap on top of it and piling crap on. I think what they're looking at potentially doing, and this is pure speculation, is potentially selling Xbox OS to people like you and me and the folks watching at home or on the go or wherever you're watching right now. Um, so that we can get that same sort of
It's
performance
you, you
boost,
know,
but
you know
still
what,
be
Moose?
using Windows.
It's absolutely brilliant. We're going to make Windows 11 so bad that you're going to pay us money to get a version of Windows 11 that doesn't suck.
Right. Why do you think it's been free for so long?
We're going to
Like,
make it so bad
yeah,
that you'll pay us to not use it, but you'll still pay us to use something that's like it, just without all of the suck in it.
right. And then if you need some of the suck or want some of the suck, you can put the suck back in.
I know.
It's just we're going to ship it to you for an extra fee because
Now,
remember, Windows used to be $100 a license, and Microsoft is trying to get people on the model, which they've already done with Office 365, of getting you on the on the model of buying a refresh of the license every year. Now, think about this, where if you're playing on Xbox OS and all of a sudden a new version comes out and they say, okay, you got 30 days to buy the upgrade. Give us another $100, guys, or you
you
can't
know,
play it with your
I
friends.
I told you this, and I mean this moving forward. I would spend 50, 75 bucks, and I would gladly pay it to Steam
Hmm.
to have Steam operating system that I can install on my own machine.
Same here.
Once, one time, let it go, develop it, take my money, make it really good. But, I think that's the loaded question in 5 years, when we come back and look at this episode, the question will be who stepped up to the plate and who was like, this is what we're doing. It's
Yeah.
very possible, it is very possible that Microsoft already knows what they're doing
Hmm.
and they've already sorted this stuff off. It's very possible that Microsoft already has a game plan in. They looked at the games the game studios that weren't making games that were going to underperform and said, "We're done. We're done letting you make crappy games. These aren't going to sell. You're fired."
Yep.
Streaming down the IP to stuff that they can and saying, "Yeah, we still own Forza Motorsport." And maybe Forza Motorsport is a thing that we do every 5 years. But you know what? If we make Forza Motorsport every 18 months, we will sell the crap out of it and we'll just keep making more and more money.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is probably where, you know, where we could see it. It's just the question is it looking at everyone's, like, their choices leading up to it, I don't feel like there's direction in Xbox.
Hmm.
Why would you go out and buy all this IP, spend stupid amounts of money on IP that you just got rid of? And why, unless you have a plan, why would you just be like, we're done? Now, it's, as I
Yeah.
said, it's possible they have a plan.
It's
I
possible
don't
they
know.
don't, but I
Oh
hope
no,
they
I
have a
think it's
plan.
probable that they don't have a plan. I
Well,
don't think that they're that smart. I'm just saying that they're in a realm of possibilities. There is a realm, there is a planet out there, a reality where Microsoft knows what the hell they're doing. I don't think that's this reality, but maybe it's out there. Maybe this is the one where all of
maybe
them. This is the Matrix, where
we
this
we we need to load the right backup next time, then, guys. Come on,
exactly.
come on.
But really interesting. I mean, this could have a really big push into a lot of the manufacturers that we talk about on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
This is obviously going to have some form of impact on Asus. I would expect that that we may see other PC manufacturers with similar types of hardware. I hopefully we don't see an MSI Claw, but who knows? Maybe we will.
I think we already did.
There was a new Claw that
I
actually
did
has
see
the AMD hardware, so it doesn't suck.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is going to be really interesting. I don't think PC gaming is going to have a huge change.
No.
But what I do think is I do think we are going to see a melding and a combination of all of these different marketplaces. And I think that it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to play with your Sony friends, your Xbox friends, and your PC gaming friends, because I don't think that you're going to necessarily see cross-platform at all anymore. Now, here's the loaded question.
Well, it's all going to be one platform eventually, I think.
Okay, but how are they going to do this when you have an Xbox or a console player using a controller playing against a PC player with a keyboard and mouse? Because it is proven that a keyboard and mouse user is more accurate and performs better than any player with a controller.
Same way you do it on Fortnite.
With shooting games,
right?
For sure,
right.
Racing games, I'd make the argument exact probably goes the exact opposite way there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but
the way they do it now in Fortnite is if you're playing on console, you get aim assist at, say, level 10. On PC, if you're playing with keyboard and mouse, you get 0 aim assist, or maybe aim assist at level 1 or 2 if you turn it on. With a controller on PC, you get aim assist at level 4 or 5. So even if you're playing with a controller on PC, you get a lower level of aim assist than the people on the console. And it's a very interesting setup. It kind of works. Because it helps the console peasants be a little more competitive. But realistically, at the end of the day, for a lot of the console players, I can usually tear them a pretty good new one. And I suck. I am like not even silver tier on Fortnite. I am terrible at it. I enjoy it, but I'm terrible at it.
And on that bombshell of Moose admitting that he's terrible at video games.
I am terrible at video games, but I enjoy them. So yes, on that bombshell, I thank you all. We both thank you for giving us a little bit of your time. And do remember to jump down into the area down below the video, give us a like and a subscribe, and leave a little comment in the doobly-doo down there. And I think
okay, so hold up real quick.
Oh,
real quick. We have just a prediction, and we'll come back to this in 5 years, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. Your prediction in 5 years. Do we have any form of any console in 5 years?
I think we will, but their days will be numbered.
Who will be making it in 5 years?
It's going to be Sony, and it's probably going to be the PlayStation 6. And I think by the 5-year mark, we're going to see Sony announcing, hey, next generation of the PlayStation 6 is going to be a handheld and it's just as powerful.
Okay, so your thought is that PlayStation 6 is the end,
I think it's going to be
and
the end
it's going to
of,
go
yeah,
portables more than like a traditional console like we've seen in the past.
right.
I think that probably makes a lot of sense because you could hook that up and put it onto a screen just as well with a dock.
Yep.
So,
And the hardware that's already in the PlayStation 5 now is possible to be set up as a portable. I mean, they're already there physically. It's just you got to put it in the form factor. So, yeah. So, on that bombshell, everybody, thank you all for watching and all that stuff. I already said that a minute ago. So,
good night, everybody.
until next time, have fun storming the castle. Yep, good night.